Hey guys, my name is Tim and today we have 2018 BMW X3 and this one is G01. We have a B58 engine in here, so it's a M40i, and what are we going to do? The rear brake pads replacement. This X3, since it's M40i, has M-style brakes, and as basically 10 years before, it has electronic parking brake. So I'll show you guys how to manage this replacement without having the tools like the scanners to disengage the electronic parking brake. So you can do it with the just basic tools and be done with it. So it's going to be a short video, just everything you need to know, what parts to use, what tools to use, and how to do the job. Straight up and simple. Let's get to it. First step, when the car is on the ground, just loosen the wheel bolts. You'll need a 17mm deep socket, and I use the breaker bar, something like that, so it goes right in. Just loosen it, don't take it off. Important note, make sure your parking brake is released. If you guys new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video, of course. You'll find a lot of information here on the channel, how to fix the BMWs, different years, different body types, all kinds of jobs, so do that. Now we can jack up the car. The pad is right here as usual. I'm gonna be doing one side at a time, so if you want to, of course, use the jack stand, then you'll be lifting from the center, the whole back, since it's a X drive. And you can put some support for the front wheels so it doesn't roll, but also make sure the car is on an even surface. There we go. So the pad is right here, and just jack up the car. First of all, let's disconnect the electrical connector from the parking brake, electronic parking brake. I'll get it out of the bracket right here. Just pull it out. And now there's a standard BMW tab connector in there, so you just squeeze and release, and this is out. Or you can use the pick tool from the bottom to just lift this thing up and remove it. Set it aside, but don't forget it. And now there's two bolts holding the electronic parking brake to the caliper. I'll try to show it to you as best as I can, but the camera is not actually fitting in here. But there's just two 5mm bolts, 5mm Allen bolts. The first bolt is right here, 5mm Allen, I remind you guys. That's number one. The second bolt is right here where this socket is. So this is a 5mm socket and 3-inch extension right here. So this allows me to take this bolt out, and it's also on this bracket, so you won't miss it. There's just two bolts, two 5mm Allen bolts. Here are those two bolts. That's the hardest part of this repair. I removed them, and let's get to the next step. Now we can easily move the bracket out of the way. There is a brake pad wear sensor attached to it, so if it makes it easier for you, you can remove it now, since we're going to be replacing the sensor anyways. It's tight in there. There we go. So yeah, the bracket is out, and since nothing else is holding the parking brake motor, you just pull it out. There you go. That's the parking brake motor. Now, important part, you need to rotate the motor clockwise. I'm using T45 socket. It fits perfectly fine. If it goes hard, it's not supposed to. So we go in, it's right in the center, and it should be freely rotating. I don't even need tools for it. Just rotating it. There we go. For how long? Until it stops. When it stops, you don't force it anymore. That's it. That means the motor is fully in. There you go. It stops. All we need to do now is compress the caliper. So I'm just using the screwdriver and against the pad. And now we can easily compress the caliper just like before. That will be enough for us to remove the caliper and compress it more later on. Now everything that's left is two caliper bolts. Those are 13 millimeter, and you can use the 17 millimeter wrench, open wrench, to hold it in place on the other side. So 17 right here, fits nice and easy, and 13 in the back. There we go. Just like that, and the other one is at the bottom. Same goes to the bottom bolt, of course. 17 millimeter right here. I'm using the wrench and 13 millimeter socket. There we go. This is it. Remove the bolts. We have the new ones with the new pads. Now the caliper bolts are out. We can easily remove it, but there is a sensor on the way. So I'll just disconnect it. There we go. So nothing holds it. There we go. There's still gonna be, the piston is a little bit out, so I can compress it just like that. And there we go. It's all the way in. Just make sure the rubber is good. It usually is, like nothing really happens to those. It's a fairly fresh car. And we are ready to replace the pads. Now let's get the pads out. Those are easy. Start from the top. One out. The rear one, same way. And now the shims. There we go. There we go. Now clean it up and we install everything new. A few words about the parts. I'm going to be using in this video the ATE brake pads. I'm going to put the part numbers down in the description, so if you want them now, right here, there you go, pause the video if you have it. The ATE comes with the shims and the bolts. I already did the other side, so we have new shims, the pads, of course, and the bolts. Those are not OEM pads. I like using ATE because they were OEM for many years with BMW. They are not as dusty as the Techstar, let's say. Techstar was OEM. In this case, the OEM one would be Golfer. So if you want the OEM, that's Golfer. But another important thing, the manufacturer of the caliper is TRW. So I would advise you to get the TRW brake pads. I mean, that's the reason why I have ATE, since the ATE was the caliper for the BMW for a long part. The brake pad wear sensor is BOWA as usual. This is the OEM one. Here's the part number. Get it if you want. I'll put it in the description as well. Important, replace the brake pad wear sensor every single time you do the brake job, even if it's not worn out. Just do it. Trust me on this one. And as usual, BMW has one sensor in the bag on one pad. It's passenger side, and one sensor in the front on one pad is the driver's side. So just keep that in mind. You don't need two sensors or four, like just one. Okay, now we have two pads. One with this kind of bulge covered, and the other one is without one. So you'll have two of those and two of those. This one is an inside pad. This is where the sensor goes. So we'll start with putting the sensor through the caliper. I like doing this way all the time. So put the sensor in all the way, just let it rest. Now we can put the outside pad right there after we put the shims in. The shims are simple to put on. There we go. Same goes to the top. There we go. Now, this outside pad just push it down. There we go. Sits nice and good. And now the outside pad. Same way. Just let me demonstrate on this side one more time how it's done. So you go with the angle, just like this. Press it down a little bit to the side. When you hit this pin right here, there you go. You press it and put it inside. Should be relatively easy. There's nothing special about it. And now we are able to put the caliper back, and we have the sensor coming out of it. You can fit the sensor later on if you want. I just used to doing it this way, so this is how I do it. Now let's put the caliper bolts in. They're already with the Loctite. Same way you took them out. You'll need the 17 millimeter and 13. Now we're going to put back the parking brake motor and put the bracket back in place. So it goes only one way. It will align with the holes for the bolts. Just put back those 5 millimeter bolts, and that's it. Tighten it up. We are almost done. Now we'll put the parking brake connector back in place. It goes right here into the bracket and down at the connector. Just make sure you hear it click. Just like that. Very subtle click, but move it back and forth so you know it's in place. Now this is the old sensor. This is where it goes. So if you don't remember, that's why you don't remove it all the way. So it goes here. Just follow the wire. It goes all the way up to this little box right here. This is where the sensor is sitting. So yep, remove that all the way in the back. This is the one right here. This is it, guys, with the hardware part. The pads are installed, the sensor is in place, everything's connected. It's exactly the same way on the other side, minus the sensor. You won't have the sensor there, so it's simpler a little bit. Now just put back the wheel, of course, and don't forget to tighten it. And we'll get to the cabin to do the reset. Now, without starting the car, we need to enter the service mode. And it used to be when you push the start button without stepping on the brake, it would turn all the lights on. Not the case anymore with this new car, so look at that. Nothing happens. All you need to do is press the start button 3 times. And now it's in service mode. Diagnostic mode, as it says. Okay. Now, we put this button right here in the corner and hold it. Press and hold. Yep, rear brake pads reset possible right there. Press and hold again. Let it go. Reset. Yes. Press and hold. There you go. This is it. Reset successful. This is how you do it without any special tools. Now the final thing you gotta do is to release the parking brake, of course. I mean, turn it on and off. Just step on the brake, goes all the way down, and then engage the parking brake. Takes a while. There you go. And let it go. And then step on the brake a couple more times and just let's do it again. There we go. All good. Now you're ready to travel. Thank you guys for watching, especially if you made it to the end of the video, and I hope this video gives you the confidence to do the job on your own. This is a $700 job, at least in California, for the brake pads replacement at the dealer. Local shop $400, but the parts would cost you probably $100, and you can do it on your own. Save some money. So drop the like, share the video. If you have any questions, just comment below and I'll try to answer it as much as I can. And of course, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.